Good afternoon, everyone. Let's meet our group members. First, Micah Beatrix Cruz, Bhea Rosel de Guzman, Christine Angelica Herrera, yours truly, Christine Kaye Hibionada, and for your perusal, my nickname is Shin. And lastly, Elaine Claire Mesina. Today, we'll be discussing on how media ethics operates and performs, particularly in the light of the 2022 elections happening now.
Shin, you raised an interesting point. It is timely since not only Filipinos are engrossed in the news, but the entire world is watching and intrigued by the current context of the Philippine elections. Why do you think so, Elaine?
Because some media outlets have been withholding information from the public. We see substantial fake news flowing in the media during the campaign season. Also, some well known journalists cannot be trusted because of what they publish. Even the world knows about it and is settled on some issues, but because of fake news, the Filipinos are divided.
Indeed, Elaine, now the elections have become undone. The people's opinion is shaped by the journalist. The fake news has brainwashed them to believe that the lies are the truth. Remember how we've been taught in class by Ma'am Izel that a journalist's responsibility must be to the public, and how they must practice independence from those they cover? Frankly, I only see so little of that in the contemporary times.
Isn't it devastating how our fellow Filipinos are vehemently disagreeing and creating online debates to prove their argument is correct?
Yes, but I have no one to blame but the media, Christine, and not the people. It might sound harsh, but isn't it the journalist's fundamental principle to report the truth? Isn't it their professional standards to give fairness, balance, objectivity, and clarity? What happened to giving voice to the voiceless and holding the power accountable? Journalists seem to turn a blind eye. Or else,
Or else watching.
they are silenced and controlled by those in the upper chain of command. If so, Professor Luis Teodoro was right. How the problem of the culture of corruption in the media and society at large persists in the Philippine press today. Advertising and political pressure are two significant elements that obstruct the public's access to accurate, fair, and relevant information.
However, is it conceivable, Shin, that what is aired or published on media can be inaccurate or possibly falsified since it is said that media experts such as anchors and journalists present the details in various mediums?
Yes, I suppose that what Bea mentioned is debatable in the sense that media is not taken by the deliverers alone, but by the collective individuals who receive certain news or debate in society.
Right. It could be the responsibility of everyone concerned, not just the media.
Actually, this topic is extremely relevant at this time, particularly in elections where candidates are vying for positions. When considering how society reacts to this, there is a wealth of information available, most prominently on television and social networking sites.
The crucial component is that the media has such a strong influence on people because whenever they agree on anything, they can do something to change the information they have and it can completely resurface in public with a new plot.
I'd also like to point out that certain news deliverers have been threatened, which prevented them from speaking up for the truth.
Elaine, you are correct. Unfortunately, threats of imprisonment and even job loss are frequent simply because they want to share the truth with the media. Furthermore, if you are familiar with Rappler, one of the top digital media outlets in the Philippines that stands up for the truth, while also being admonished for its credibility and accuracy in reporting on current events in the country.
Besides that, there are well-known news anchors such as Mel Tiangco, Karen Davila, Jessica Soho, and Vicky Morales who have been talked about online throughout the 2022 election results because they have become transparent and vocal about how they visualize and understand the problem.
With that, they certainly deserve credit and honor for being so forthright in their commitment to the Filipino people. They must be a role model anchor as they risk their reputations on the line in order to be truthful and fair to the media.
Well, we cannot deny the fact that the spread of misinformation is due to how people take the news itself. But keep in mind the possible consequences media outlets and personnel may face if they go against those in power and high position.
So, does that mean that the government is controlling the media to prevent criticisms and make their image good to the public?
Yes, Micah. Remember how the government, specifically during the martial law, controlled people's access to information from the media by shutting down all media networks and outlets nationwide?
In addition to what Shin said, it was done to prevent the media from criticizing the government and allow the public to be rightly informed. In short, the government silenced the media as they claimed they are engaged in subversive activities against the government and participants in a conspiracy theory to overthrow the government.
Consider how Marcos has tightly regulated people's access to information and ensured that he gets the last say on his so-called truth.
I agree, Christine. When the late dictator Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law on September 21, 1972, by Proclamation 1081, the country's free press and mass media were the first casualties.
In addition to what Micah has stated, Marcos recognized the media's critical role and made certain to strip them of all powers and privileges the moment he declared martial law.
In addition, there is the matter of Maria Resa's investigative work revealing social media deception. Reza and her Rappler colleagues have been criticized and exposed by Duterte on social media. Reza has been sued and arrested several times, and in June 2020, a Manila court found her guilty of cyber libel for a narrative regarding a wealthy businessman's ties to a judge in the drug trade.
Indeed, Christine, I agree with what you've said, and dangers to the press freedom in the Philippines are real. It should not be dismissed as a joke, especially by those who pretend to be defending it while committing repression.
That is true, Shin. Cases of direct and indirect assaults against the press actually continue to happen, even though few acts protect the freedom of expression by the Philippine media, like the 1987 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, Article 3, Section 4, which states that the government cannot authorize any restriction to the right of the press or of the people to express.
It seems that even those acts are insufficient to prevent the higher ups from avoiding or abusing their power and control.
Exactly. With the mentioned pieces of evidence regarding internal and external factors that influence various works of journalists and media outlets, we can conclude that there are apparent strong oppositions to the ethical structure that the media is supposed to follow. These factors, as specified earlier, are the inaccuracies in newsmaking, bias or deception by misinformation, but focuses more on the prominent culture of corruption that creates output for the public, not to arm them with truth, but to dominate their judgments. Considering the recent issues of the 2022 elections, now the real danger to the press is how the new administration will try to control them. These are the references applied in the content. Thank you everyone for listening to our topic of media ethics.